Hi, we are back with Percy Jackson and the Battle of Labyrinth. It has been an exciting book, and for a book about Labyrinth, a lot of action has happened. Con- Considering the last chapter we read, I know it was just yesterday you heard about it, you read the entire chapter, but still, it is a lot. I would be tired by then. I would want to sleep and maybe die sleeping and not want to wake up. And maybe just tell Eurytion or Orpheus to feed me to the man eating horses, or better, tell Orpheus to bite me to hell. Seriously. But we are now contacting Bianca. I mean, even I wasn't sure that the iris messages were sent by Bianca. I just assumed that Hades. It's just I always see Hades as a nice guy and not the bad guy that he's ki- kind of being portrayed in the books. So, in my head, it was like, oh, Hades is worried about his kid, so he's been iris messaging Percy about that. But I guess that's not it. That Bianca iris messaging makes way more sense than Hades doing it. So let's read about it and find out if it is true. And I hope Nico finally understands what is going on. Seriously, Nico. I know you're hurt, but seriously, cohorting with ghosts, I don't think is ever a good idea. Most ghosts are vengeful. Some are nice, but they usually pass on the nice ones. So let's get started. Chapter 10. We play the game show of death. We did our summons after dark at a 7-meter long pit in front of septic tank. The tank was bright yellow with a smiley face and red words painted on the side. Happy Flush Disposal Co. It didn't quite go with the mood of the summoning the dead. The moon was full. Silver clouds drifted across the sky. Minos should be here by now, Nico said, frowning. It's full dark. Maybe he got lost, I said hopefully. Nico poured root beer and tossed barbecue into the pit, then began chanting in ancient Greek. Immediately, the bugs in the wood stopped chirping. In my pocket, the Stygian ice dog whistle started to grow colder, freezing against the side of my leg. Make him stop, Tyson whispered to me. Part of me agreed. This was unnatural. The light air felt cold and menacing. But before I could say anything, first spirit appeared. Sulphurous mist seeped out of the ground. Shadows thickened into human forms. One blue shade drifted to the edge of the pit and knelt to drink. Stop him! Only Bianca may drink, Nico said, momentarily breaking his chant. I drew riptide. The ghost retreated like a collective hiss at the sight of my celestial bronze blade. But it was too late to stop the first spirit. He had already solidified into the shape of bearded man in white robes. A circlet of gold wreathed his head, and even in death his eyes were alive with malice. Minos, what are you doing? Nico said. My apologies, master, the ghost said, though he didn't sound very sorry. The sacrifice smelled so good, I couldn't resist. He examined his own hands and smiled. It is good to see myself again, almost in solid form. You are disrupting the ritual, Nico protested. Get! The spirits of the dead began shimmering dangerously bright, and Nico had to take up the chant again to keep them at bay. Yes, quite right, master, Minos said with amusement. You keep chanting. I've only come to protect you from these liars who would deceive you. He turned to me as if I was some kind of cockroach. Percy Jackson. My. The sons of Poseidon haven't improved over the centuries, have they? I wanted to punch him, but I figured my fist would go right through his face. We are looking for Bianca D'Angelo. Get lost, I said. The ghost chuckled. I understand you once killed my minotaur with your bare hands. But worse things await you in the maze. Do you really believe Daedalus will help you? The other spirits stirred in agitation. Annabeth drew her knife and helped me keep them away from the pit. Grover got so nervous he clung to Tyson's shoulder. Daedalus cares nothing for you half-bloods, Minos warned. You can't trust him. He's old beyond counting and crafty. He's bitter from guilt of murder and is cursed by the gods. Guilt of murder? Who did he kill? I asked. Do not change the subject, the ghost growled. You are hindering Nico. You try to persuade him to give up his goal. I would make him a lord. Enough, Minos, Nico commanded. The ghost sneered. Master, these are your enemies. You must not listen to them. Let me protect you. I will turn their minds to madness as I did the others. The others? You mean Chris Rodriguez? That was you? Annabeth gasped. The maze is my property, the ghost said, not Daedalus's. Those who intrude deserve madness. Be gone, Minos. I want to see my sister, Nico demanded. The ghost bit back his rage. As you wish, master. But I warn you, you cannot trust these heroes. With that, he faded into mist. Other spirits rushed forward, but Annabeth and I kept them back. Bianca, up here, Nico intoned. He started chanting faster and the spirits shifted restlessly. Any time now, Grover muttered. Then a silvery light flickered in the trees. A spirit that seemed brighter and stronger than the others. It came closer and something told me to let it pass. It knelt to drink at the pit. When it arose, it was the ghostly form of Bianca D'Angelo. I was still hoping that Bianca didn't die. She just got lost. It's hard to see this. Really hard. Nico's chanting faltered. I lowered my sword. The other spirits started to crowd forward, but Bianca raised her arms and they retreated into the woods. Hello, Percy, she said. She looked the same as she had in life. A green cap set sideways on her thick black hair, dark eyes and olive skin like her brother. She wore jeans and a silvery jacket, the outfit of Hunter Artemis. A bow was slung over her shoulder. She smiled faintly and her whole form flickered. Bianca, I said. My voice was thick. I'd felt guilty about her death for so long time, but seeing her in front of me was 5 times as bad. Like her death was fresh and new. It was fresh and new to me, Percy. It was like a week ago. I remembered searching through wreckage of the giant bronze warrior she'd sacrificed her life to defeat, and not finding any sign of her. I'm so sorry, I said. You have nothing to apologize for, Percy. I made my own choice. I don't regret it. Bianca, Nico stumbled forward like he was just coming out of a daze. She turned towards her brother. Her expression was sad, as if she'd been dreading this moment. Hello, Nico. You've got so tall. Why didn't you answer me sooner? I've been trying for months. I was hoping you would give up. Give up? He sounded heartbroken. How can you say that? I'm trying to save you. You can't, Nico. Don't do this. Percy is right. No, he let you die. He's not your friend. Bianca stretched out a hand as if to touch her brother's face, but she was made of mist. Her hand evaporated as it got closer to living skin. You must listen to me. Holding grudges is dangerous for a child of Hades. It is a fatal flaw. You have to forgive. You have to promise me this. I can't. Never. Percy has been worried about you, Nico. He can help. I let him see what you were up to, hoping he would find you. So it was you. You sent those Iris messages, I said. Bianca nodded. Why are you helping him and not me? Nico screamed. It is not fair. You are close to the truth now, Bianca told him. It's not Percy you're mad at, Nico, it's me. No. You're mad because I left you to become a hunter of Artemis. You're mad because I died and left you alone. I'm sorry for that, Nico, I truly am. But you must overcome the anger and stop blaming Percy for my choices. It will be your doom. She's right, Annabeth broke in. Kronos is rising, Nico. He'll twist anyone he can to his cause. I don't care about Kronos. I just want my sister back, Nico said. You can't have that, Nico, Bianca told him gently. I am the son of Hades. I can. Don't try. If you love me, don't, she said. Her voice trailed off. Spirits had started to gather around us again, and they seemed agitated. Their shadows shifted, their voices whispered, Danger. Tartarus stirs. Your power draws the attention of Kronos. The dead must return to the underworld. It is not safe for us to remain, Bianca said. Wait, Nico said. Please, goodbye, Nico. I love you. Remember what I said. Her form shivered and the ghosts disappeared, leaving us alone with a pit, a happy flush septic tank, and a cold full moon. I hope Nico understands. I really do. None of us were anxious to travel that night, so we decided to wait until morning. Grover and I crashed on the leather couches in Garion's living room, which was a lot more comfortable than a bedroll in the maze, but it didn't make my nightmares any better. I dreamed I was with Luke, walking through the dark palace on top of Mount Tam. It was a real building now, not some half finished illusion like I'd last seen last winter. Green fires burned in braziers along the walls. The floor was polished black marble. A cold wind blew down the hallway, and above us, through the open ceiling, the sky swirled with grey storm clouds. Nico was dressed for battle. He wore camouflage combats, a white t shirt, and a bronze breastplate. But his sword, Backbiter, wasn't at his side, only an empty scabbard. We walked into a large courtyard where dozens of warriors and Dracanae were preparing for war. When they saw him, the demigods rose to attention. They beat their swords against their shields. Is it time, my lord? A Dracana asked. A Dracana asked. Soon, Luke promised. Continue your work. My lord, a voice said behind him. Kelly the Emposer was smiling at him. She wore a blue dress tonight and looked wickedly beautiful. Her eyes flickered, sometimes dark brown, sometimes pure red. Her hair was braided down her back and seemed to catch the light of the torches, as if it were anxious to turn back into pure flame. My heart was pounding. I waited for Kelly to see me, to chase me out of the dream, as she had before, but this time she didn't seem to notice me. You have a visitor, she told Luke. She stepped aside, and even Luke seemed stunned by what he saw. The monster Campe towered over him. Her snakes hissed around her legs. Animals' heads growled at her waist. Her swords were drawn, shimmering with poison, and with her bat wings extended, she took up the entire corridor. You. I told you to stay at Alcatraz. Luke's voice sounded a little shaky. Campe's eyelids blinked sideways like a reptile's. She spoke in that weird rumbling language, but this time I understood. Somewhere in the back of my mind. I came to serve. Give me revenge. You're a jailer. Your job. I will have them dead. No one escapes me. Luke hesitated. A line of sweat trickled down the side of his face. Very well. You will go with me. You may carry Ariadne's string. It is a position of great honor, he said. Campe hissed at the stars. She sheathed her swords and turned, pounding down the hallway on her enormous dragon legs. We should have left that one in the Tartarus, Luke mumbled. She's too chaotic, too powerful. Kelly laughed softly. You should not fear power, Luke. Use it. The sooner we leave, the better. I want this over with. Something tells me Luke is feeling guilty and now he doesn't know how to get out of this. Aw, Kelly sympathized, running a finger down his arm. You find it unpleasant to destroy your old camp? I didn't say that. You're not having second thoughts about your own, special part. Luke's face turned stony. I know my duty. That is good, the demon said. Is our strike force sufficient, do you think? Or will I need to call Mother Hecate for help? We have more than enough, Luke said grimly. The deal is almost complete. All I need now is to negotiate safe passage through the arena. That should be interesting. I would hate to see your handsome head on a spike if you fail. I will not fail. And you, demon, don't you have other matters to tend to? Oh, yes. I am bringing despair to our eavesdropping enemies. I am doing that right now. She turned her eyes directly on me, exposed her talents, and ripped through my dreams. Suddenly, I was in a different place. I stood at the top of a stone tower, overlooking rocky cliffs and the ocean below. The old man Daedalus was hunched over a work table, wrestling with some kind of navigational instrument, like a huge compass. He looked years older than when I'd last seen him. He was stopped and his hands were gnarled. He cursed in ancient Greek and squinted as if he couldn't see his work, even though it was sunny day. Uncle, a voice called. A smiling boy about Nico's age came bounding up the steps, carrying a wooden box. Hello, Peridix, the old man said, though his tone sounded cold. Done with your project already? Yes, uncle. They were easy. Daedalus scowled. Easy? The problem of moving water uphill without a pump was easy? Oh, yes. Look. The boy dumped his box and rummaged through the junk. He came up with a strip of papyrus and showed the old inventor some diagrams and notes. They didn't make any sense to me, but Daedalus nodded grudgingly. I see. Not bad. The king loved it. He said I might be even smarter than you, Perdix said, sorry. Did he now? But I don't believe that. I'm so glad mother sent me to study with you. I want to know everything you do. Yes. So when I die, you can take my place, eh? Daedalus muttered. The boy's eyes widened. Oh no, uncle. But I've been thinking, why does a man have to die anyway? The inventor scowled. It is the way of things, lad. Everything dies but the gods. But why? The boy insisted. If you could capture the animus, the soul in another form. Well, you've told me about your automatons, uncle. Bulls, eagles, dragons, horses of bronze. Why not a bronze form for a man? No, my boy, Daedalus said sharply. You are naive. Such a thing is impossible. I don't think so. With the use of a little magic, so Perdix insisted. Magic? Bah. Yes, uncle. Magic and mechanics. Together. With a little work. One could make a body that would look exactly human, only better. I've made some notes. So they are not after Daedalus after all. They are after Perdix, which is not going to end well for either. He handed the old man a thick scroll. Daedalus unfolded. He read for a long time. His eyes narrowed. He glanced at the boy, then closed the scroll and cleared his throat. It would never work, my boy. When you're older, you'll see. Can I fix that astroblade then, uncle? Are your joints swelling up again? The old man's jaw clenched. No, thank you. Now, why don't you run along? Perdix didn't seem to notice the old man's anger. He snatched a bronze beetle from his mound of stuff and ran to the edge of the tower. A low sill ringed the rim, coming just up to the boy's knees. The wind was strong. Move back, I wanted to tell him, but my voice didn't work. Perdix wound up the beetle and tossed it into the air. It spread its wing and hummed away. Perdix laughed with delight. Smarter than me, Daedalus mumbled, too softly for the boy to hear. Is it true your son died flying, uncle? I heard you made him enormous wings, but they failed. Daedalus's hands clenched. Take my place, he muttered. The wind whipped around the boy, tugging at his clothes, making his hair ripple. I would like to fly. I'd make my own wings that wouldn't fail. Do you think I could? Perdix said. Maybe it was a dream within my dream, but suddenly I imagined the two-headed god Janus shimmering in the air next to Daedalus, smiling as he tossed a silver key from hand to hand. Choose, he whispered to the old inventor. Choose. Daedalus picked up another one of Boy's metal bugs. The inventor's old eyes were red with anger. Perdix, catch, he called. He tossed the bronze beetle towards the boy. Delighted, Perdix tried to catch it, but the throw was too long. The beetle sailed into open sky and Perdix reached a little too far. The wind caught him. Somehow he managed to grab the rim of the tower with his fingers as he fell. Uncle, help me, he screamed. The old man's face was a mask. He did not move from his spot. Go on, Perdix, Daedalus said softly. Make your own wings. Be quick about it. Uncle, the boy cried as he lost his grip. He tumbled towards the sea. There was a moment of deadly silence. The god Janus flickered and disappeared. Then thunder shook the sky. A woman's stern voice spoke from above. You will pay the price for that, Daedalus. I had heard that voice before. It was Annabeth's mother, Athena. Daedalus scowled up at the heavens. I have always honored you, mother. I have sacrificed everything to follow your way. Yet the boy had my blessing as well, and you have killed him. For that you must pay. Okay. He called her mother, but I'm not going to make assumptions because sometimes goddesses are also called mother. But if we consider this in a real sense, then Daedalus and Annabeth must be related. And it's weird. I've paid and paid, Daedalus growled. I've lost everything. I'll suffer in the underworld, no doubt. But in meantime, he picked up the boy's scroll, studied it for a moment, and slipped it into his sleeve. You do not understand. You will pay now and forever, Athena said coldly. Suddenly, Daedalus collapsed in agony. I felt what he felt. A searing pain closed around my neck like a molten hot collar, cutting off my breath, making everything go black. I woke in the dark and my hands clutching at my throat. Percy, Grover called from the other sofa. Are you okay? I studied my breathing. I wasn't sure how to answer. I just watched the guy we were looking for, Daedalus, murder his own nephew. How could I be okay? The television was going. Blue light flickered through the room. What time is it? I croaked. 2 in the morning. Grover said. I couldn't sleep. I was watching the Nature Channel. I missed Juniper, he sniffled. I rubbed the sleep out of my eyes. Yeah, well, you'll see her soon. Grover shook his head sadly. Do you know what day it is, Percy? I just saw it on TV. It's June 13th. 7 days since we left camp. What? That can't be right. Time is faster in the Labyrinth, Grover reminded me. The first time you and Annabeth went down there, you thought you were only gone a few minutes, right? But it was an hour. Oh, right, I said. Then it dawned on me what he was saying. and my throat felt steaming hot again. Your deadline with the Council of Cloven Elders. Grover put the TV remote in his mouth and crunched off the end of it. Grover, it is someone else's TV remote. Get it out of your mouth. I'm out of time, he said with a mouthful of plastic. As soon as I go back, they'll take away my searcher's license. I'll never be allowed to go out again. We'll talk to them, I promised. Make them give you more time. Grover swallowed. They'll never go for it. The world is dying, Percy. Every day it gets worse. The wild, I can just feel it fading. I have to find Pan. You will, man, no doubt. Grover looked at me with sad goat eyes. You've always been a good friend, Percy. What you did today, saving the ranch animals from Garyon, that was amazing. I wish I could be more like you. Hey, don't say that. You're just as much a hero. No, I'm not. I keep trying, but he sighed. Percy, I can't go back to camp without finding Pan. I just can't. You understand that, don't you? I can't face Juniper if I fail. I can't even face myself. His voice was so unhappy it hurt to hear. We'd been through a lot together, but I'd never heard him sound this down. We'll figure out something, I said. You haven't failed. You're the champion goat boy, all right? Juniper knows that, so do I. Grover closed his eyes. Champion goat boy, he muttered dejectedly. A long time after he had dozed off, I was still awake, watching the blue light of the nature channel wash over the stuffed trophy heads on Garyon's walls. The next morning, we walked down to the cattle grid and said our goodbyes. Nico, you could come with us, I blurted out. I guess I was thinking about my dream and how much the young boy Perdix reminded me of Nico. He shook his head. I don't think one of us had slept well in the Demon Ranch house, but Nico looked worse than anybody else. His eyes were red and his face chalky. He was wrapped in black robe that must have belonged to Garyon because it was 3 sizes too big even for a grown man. I need time to think. His eyes wouldn't meet mine, but I could tell from his tone that he was still angry. The fact that his sister had come out of the underworld for me and not for him didn't seem to sit well with him. Nico, Bianca just wants you to be okay, Annabeth said. She put a hand on his shoulder, but he pulled away and trudged up the road towards the ranch house. Maybe it was my imagination, but the morning mist seemed to cling to him as he walked. I'm worried about him. If he starts talking to Minos' ghost again, he'll be all right, Eurytion promised. The coward had cleaned up nicely. He was wearing new jeans and a clean western shirt, and he'd even trimmed his beard. He'd put on Gyron's boots. The boy can stay here and gather his thoughts as long as he wants. He'll be safe, I promise. What about you? I asked. Eurytion scratched Orthus behind one chin, then other. Things are going to run a little different on this ranch from now on. No more scared cattle meat. I'm thinking about soya bean patties, and I'm going to befriend those flesh-eating horses. Might just sign up for the next rodeo. The idea made me shudder. Well, good luck. Yup. Eurytion spat into the grass. I reckon you'll be looking for Daedalus' workshop now? Can you help us? Annabeth's eyes lit up. Eurytion studied the cattle grid, and I got the feeling the subject of Daedalus' workshop made him uncomfortable. Don't know where it is, but Hephaestus probably would. That's what Hera said. But how do we find Hephaestus? Annabeth agreed. Eurytion pulled something from under the collar of his shirt. It was a necklace, a smooth silver disc on a silver chain. The disc had a depression on the middle, like a thumbprint. He handed it to Annabeth. Hephaestus comes here from time to time, Eurytion said. Studies the animals and such, so he can make bronze automaton copies. Last time I did him a favor. A little trick he wanted to play on my dad, Ares, and Aphrodite. He gave me that chain in gratitude. Said if I ever needed to find him, the disc would lead me to his forges. But only once. And you're giving it to me? Annabeth asked. Eurytion blushed. I don't need to see the forges, miss. Got enough to do here. Just press the button and you'll be on your way. Annabeth pressed the button and the disc sprang to life. It grew 8 metallic legs. Annabeth shrieked and dropped it, much to Eurytion's confusion. Spider! She screamed. She's a little scared of spiders, Grover explained. That old grudge between Athena and Arachne. Oh, sorry, miss. Eurytion looked embarrassed. The spider scrambled to the cattle grid and disappeared between the bars. Hurry, that thing's not going to wait for us. Annabeth wasn't anxious to follow, but we didn't have much choice. We said our goodbyes to Eurytion. Tyson pulled the cattle grid off the hole and we dropped back into the maze. I wish I could have put the mechanical spider on a leash. It scuttled along the tunnel so fast that most of the time I couldn't even see it. If it hadn't been for Tyson's or Grover's excellent hearing, we never would have known which way it was going. We ran down a marble tunnel, then dashed to the left and almost fell into an abyss. Tyson grabbed me and hauled me back before I could fall. The tunnel continued in front of us, but there was no floor for about 30 meters, just gaping darkness and a series of iron rungs on the ceiling. The mechanical spider was about halfway across, swinging from bar to bar by shooting out metal web fiber. Monkey bars. I'm great at this, Annabeth said. She leaped onto the first rung and started swinging her way across. She was scared of tiny spiders, but not of plummeting to her death from a set of monkey bars. Go figure. Annabeth got to the opposite side and ran after the spider. I followed. When I got across, I looked back and saw Tyson giving Grover a piggyback ride. Or was it a goatee bag ride? No, Percy, no. Shame. The big guy made it across in 3 swings, which was good thing since just as he landed, the last iron bar ripped free under his weight. We kept moving and past a skeleton crumbled in the tunnel. It wore remains of a dress shirt, trousers, and a tie. The spider didn't slow down. I slipped on a pile of wood scraps, but when I shone a light on them, I realized they were pencils. Hundreds of them, all broken in half. Tunnel opened up into a large room. A blazing light hit us. Once my eyes adjusted, the first thing I noticed was skeletons. Dozens littered the floor around us. Some were old and bleached white. Others were more recent and a lot grosser. They didn't smell quite as bad as Geryon's stables, but almost. Then I saw the monster. She stood on glittery dais on the opposite side of the room. She had the body of a huge lion and the head of a woman. She would have been pretty, but her hair was tied back in a tight bun. She wore too much makeup, so she kind of reminded me of my third grade choir teacher. She had a blue ribbon badge pinned to her chest that took me a moment to read. This monster has been rated exemplary. Tyson whimpered. Sphinx. I knew exactly why he was scared. When he was small, Tyson had been attacked by Sphinx in New York. He still had scars on the back to prove it. Spotlights blazed on either side of the creature. The only exit was a tunnel right behind the dais. The mechanical spider scuttled between the Sphinx's paws and disappeared. Annabeth started forward, but the Sphinx roared, showing fangs in her otherwise human forms. Bars came down on both tunnel exits, behind us and in front. Immediately, the monster's snarl turned into a brilliant smile. Welcome, lucky contestants. Get ready to play Answer That Riddle, she announced. Canned applause blasted from the ceiling as if there were invisible loudspeakers. Spotlight swept across the room, reflected off the dais, throwing disco glitter over the skeletons on the floor. Fabulous prizes. Pass the test, and you get the advance. Fail, and I get to eat you. Who will be our contestant? The Sphinx said. Annabeth grabbed my arm. I've got this, she whispered. I know what she's going to ask. I know, but doesn't that sound like overconfidence? And it's never good to be overconfident. I didn't argue too hard. I didn't want Annabeth getting devoured by a monster, but I figured if Sphinx were going to ask riddles, Annabeth was best one of us to try. She stepped forward to the contestants' podium, which had a skeleton in a school uniform hunched over it. She pushed the skeleton out of the way and it clattered to the floor. Sorry, Annabeth told it. Welcome, Annabeth Chase, the monster cried, though Annabeth hadn't said her name. Are you ready for your test? Yes, ask your riddle, she said. 20 riddles, actually, Sphinx said gleefully. What? But back in the old days, oh, we've raised our standards. To pass, you must show proficiency in all 20. Isn't that great? Applause swished on and off like somebody turning a faucet. Annabeth glanced at me nervously. I gave her an encouraging nod. Okay, she said. She told the Sphinx. I'm ready. The drum roll sounded from above. The Sphinx's eyes glittered with excitement. What is the capital of Bulgaria? Annabeth frowned for a terrible moment. I thought she was stumped. Sofia, she said, but correct. More canned applause. The Sphinx smiled so wide her fangs showed. Please be sure to mark your answer clearly on your test sheet with a 2B pencil. What? Annabeth looked mystified. Then a test booklet appeared on the podium in front of her, along with a sharpened pencil. Make sure you bubble each answer clearly and stay inside the circle. If you have to erase completely or the machine will not be able to read your answers, Sphinx said. What machine? Annabeth asked. Sphinx pointed with her paw. Over by the spotlight was a bronze box with a bunch of gears and levers and a big Greek letter H, eta, on the side, the mark of Hephaestus. Now, next question, the Sphinx said. Wait a second. What walks on 4 legs in the morning? I beg your pardon, the Sphinx said, clearly annoyed now. The riddle about man. He walks on 4 legs in the morning like a baby, 2 legs in the afternoon like an adult, and 3 legs in the evening as an old man with a cane. That's the riddle you used to ask. Exactly why we changed the test, the Sphinx exclaimed. You already knew the answer. Now, second question. What is the square root of 16? 4. But, Annabeth said. Correct. Which US president signed the Emancipation Proclamation? Abraham Lincoln, but correct. Riddle number 4. How much? Hold up! Annabeth shouted. I wanted to tell her to stop complaining. She was doing great. She should just answer the question so we could leave. These aren't riddles, Annabeth said. What do you mean? Of course they are, the Sphinx snapped. This test material is specially designed. It's just a bunch of dumb random facts, Annabeth insisted. Riddles are supposed to make you think. Think? The Sphinx frowned. How am I supposed to test whether you think? That's ridiculous. Now, how much force is required? Stop. This is a stupid test, Annabeth insisted. Annabeth? Grover cut in nervously. Maybe you should just, finish first and complain later. I am a child of Athena, and this is an insult to my intelligence. I won't answer these questions, she insisted. Oh. Part of me was impressed with her for standing up like that, but part of me thought her pride was going to get us all killed. The spotlights glared. The Sphinx's eyes glittered pure black. Why then, my dear? If you won't pass, you fail, the monster said calmly. And since we can't allow any children to be held back, you'll be eaten. The Sphinx bared her claws, which gleamed like stainless steel. She pounced at the podium. No, Tyson charged. He hates it when people threaten Annabeth, but I can't believe he was being so brave, especially since he had such a bad experience with Sphinx before. He tackled the Sphinx mid-air and then crashed sideways into a pile of bones. This gave Annabeth just enough time to gather her wits and drew her knife. Tyson got up, his shirt clawed to shreds. The Sphinx growled, looking for an opening. I drew Riptide and stabbed in front of Annabeth. Turn invisible, I told her. I can fight. No, the Sphinx is after you. Let us get it. As if to prove my point, the Sphinx knocked Tyson aside and tried to charge past me. Grover poked her in the eye with somebody's leg bone. She screeched in pain. Annabeth put on her cap and vanished. The Sphinx pounced right where she'd been standing but came up with empty paws. No fair! Cheetah! The Sphinx wailed. With Annabeth no longer in sight, the Sphinx turned on me. I raised my sword, but before I could strike, Tyson ripped the monster's grading machine out on the floor and threw it at Monster's head, ruining her hair bun. It landed in pieces all around her. My grading machine! I can't be exemplary without my test scores, she cried. The bars lifted from the exits. We all dashed for the far tunnel. I could only hope Annabeth was doing the same. The Sphinx started to follow, but Grover raised his reed pipes and began to play. Suddenly, the pencils remembered they used to be parts of trees. They collected around Sphinx's paws and grew roots and branches and began wrapping around the monster's legs. The Sphinx ripped through them, but it bought us just enough time. Tyson pulled Grover into the tunnel and the bars slammed shut behind us. Annabeth, I yelled. Here, she said right next to me. Keep moving. We ran through the dark tunnels, listening to the roar of the Sphinx behind us as she complained about all the tests she would have to grade by hand. That was a new way of Sphinx test, and I did not like that. Honestly, I did not have the answers anyway. And also, yes, the Sphinx would have rather eat me than me giving her the correct answer. That would exactly how it would go. But anyway, enough about my ways around Sphinx. This was a very adventurous chapter, I think. In a way, you could say. We got a lot of information and we went through a lot with Percy and Annabeth especially. And it ended just as it was supposed to, with action. So, yeah, maybe I will see you guys tomorrow. Who knows? We never know. The time is an illusion in the labyrinth. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow with another chapter, and do not stray from your path. I have no idea why I said that. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye.